Hello everybody. Today is Saturday. It is day 2 of Summerween. I just got home from a lovely visit at my mother's house in Connecticut. So I started the Readathon there, but I didn't really get a chance to sit down and talk to you about my reading plans or how things were going. I just got home and I do have to leave for work in a few minutes, so I'm going to quickly tell you about Connecticut, tell you about what I did on day 1 and this morning. I had 3 days off in a row, so I jumped on a train and went to my mother's. She has a beautiful home and a lovely little pool, and it was really nice to pretend that I was on vacation and just sit by the pool and read and have a martini and enjoy time with her and with my stepdad. It was a great visit. I got to see my cousin and my aunt. I always love going back to my hometown. It is just one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been. And I tried to film a little bit, but didn't realize how difficult it would be to talk to a camera when there are other people around. While I did read, I didn't film any updates. So I thought I would quickly update you on how the Readathon has been over the last 24 hours, what you missed on day 1. I stayed up late. Everyone went to bed, but I stayed up to watch the clock strike midnight so that I could get a head start. The first thing I did was I sat by the fire and read a couple of chapters of A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. This is about a woman who, she's like an archaeologist, but for bugs. And while she's on a dig, there is human remains discovered. So the project is stalled until they can deal with that. She had put all of her things in storage because she was supposed to be on this dig for a long period of time. So she decides to go back to her mother's house. She went back to stay with her mom for a little while until this all gets sorted out. And when she gets there, she notices a lot of changes in her mother, a lot of weird behavior, and she's worried that she's either sick or maybe losing her memory a little bit. So far, it is intriguing, but I wouldn't say that I'm creeped out yet, but I'm only a few chapters in. And then, because I could not wait a moment longer, I picked up The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I have been so highly anticipating this. I read every single Riley Sager book as soon as it comes out, and I put this one off to save it for Summerween, even though it's already been out for a few weeks. So I was so excited to get into it. This is about this house on these cliffs. There's a woman named Kit. Is that her name? Yes. A woman named Kit who is hired to go stay at this house and act as a caretaker for the old lady, Lenore, who lives in this house, who has suffered from strokes and is nonverbal, non-mobile. She doesn't have the use of 90% of her body. And so Kit is hired to go be her caretaker. However, Lenore is actually infamous in their town for having murdered her family. It's a bit of a Lizzie Borden vibe, where there's even a rhyme that the school children used to sing about her. So her mother, father, and sister all died in the same night. She's the only one that survived, and they didn't have enough evidence to accuse her of the murder, but everyone thinks she did it. Everyone thinks she's guilty, and she's been living in this house, just hiding out all of these years, and now she's an old lady, and Kit is starting to suspect that there's more to the story, and she wants to get to the bottom of it. I also started Wrong Place, Wrong Time. So this is about Jen, who has a son named Todd, and it's the night before Halloween. She is at home carving a pumpkin, and she looks out the window and sees her son coming up the street, and suddenly her son stops in front of this stranger and stabs him. and is quickly arrested and taken into custody, and Jen has no idea what's going on. Todd is, I think, 17. He's a high schooler, and she has no idea who this man was or what happened, but all he says to her is, "I had no choice, I had to." She's horrified, and she wants to know what's going on, and then she wakes up the next day, and it is actually the day before the murder took place. So nobody knows what's about to happen but her, and so she's trying to discover why he did what he did and maybe to stop it. But every time she wakes up, it's further and further in the past. So there's a lot of conversation about, if you change something, is it going to change everything? Or if you go backwards again, does that erase the changes you made before? So I'm about 126 pages into this one. We went to a lovely dinner in my town, had great Italian food and a nice little limoncello martini for dessert. Came home and played some cards and chatted a bit. I continued to read a little bit of this. And then this morning I got up, got on the train, and read this the entire way here. And so I am now about halfway through. I think I'm on page 204. I am loving this. I am liking this. And I don't have any thoughts on this yet. So that is where we are. I am going to go to work right now. I mean, I have to work late, but my hope is that I'll be able to tackle one of these maybe today. Every time I go into a readathon, my plan is to try and read one book a day, try to finish one book a day. The goal for me is 7 books in 7 days. It's not always achievable. There's only 5 prompts for Summerween, so I only technically need to read 5 books. But I didn't finish a book on day 1. I started 3, but I didn't finish one. So I want to try and finish one of these today so that I can feel like I'm moving forward. I'm going to go to work now, and I will see you later. Hello everyone. First of all, I am so sorry for this lighting. It is very late. It is Sunday night, day 3 of Summerween. I did not get a chance to update you last night when I got home from work because I ended up binging the rest of this book. I couldn't put it down, so I read the entire thing, finished the entire thing. 5 stars. 5 stars. I will not be taking any questions at this time. This was excellent. One of my favorites by him. I have a few. That I didn't love. I'm looking at them right behind me. This is definitely toward the top of the list. I had such a good time. I thought I knew what was happening, and then there would be a twist, and then I thought I knew what was happening, and then he's just an entertaining writer. And it's that simple. It was such a fun read. I'm so glad I saved it for Summerween and that this was the first book that I finished for Summerween. I couldn't have planned it better if I tried. So that is book 1 done. Today I went to work. I work at a theater on Broadway, and the lead actor in our show, this was his final performance today. So I decided to stay after to watch him one more time. He is just excellent. He really is so wonderful as a person and an actor. He got a very long standing ovation during the curtain call, and then we did do a little champagne toast to him to send him off. But because of all of that, I got home much later than I ever planned to. Usually Sundays I get to go home a little bit earlier, but not this Sunday. The good news is I was able to, while I was getting ready, while I went to work, I was able to finish Wrong Place, Wrong Time on audio. I pretty much had it playing anytime I wasn't talking to someone or working. This one, I'm gonna say 4 stars. I think it was an incredibly well-crafted and unique take on a thriller. I love when thrillers play with time. There was a little bit toward the end that I found myself a little bit ready for it to end. So that's the only reason I'm giving it 4, not 5 stars. But aside from that, for the most part, I was incredibly engaged. I didn't necessarily see everything coming. There were a few things that I was like, okay, come on, how come I can see this before the main character is seeing it? But overall, there were definitely some twists that I wasn't expecting. And there was one theory that I had for a really long time that I would have put money down that I was correct, and I was wrong. So that was fun. That was nice surprise. So this is book 2 done for the readathon. I also did read a little bit last night after I finished The Only One Left. I did read a couple of stories by Eric LaRocca in The Trees Grew Because I Bled Here. I read the first 4 stories. I've been reading this in the dark. So far, I wasn't crazy about the first story, and I wasn't crazy about Bodies Are for Burning either. But the most recent story that I just read, The Trees Grew Because I Bled There, which is the title of the whole book, excellent. Excellent, creepy, gross, but excellent. I'm about halfway through this short story collection and halfway through a 3rd prompt being fulfilled. That is everything. I am tired, so I'm going to go to bed. Tomorrow, I have to work very early in the morning, and after work, I have plans with my family to go have dinner down in Battery Park. I will take you guys along, but I don't know how much reading I'm going to get done. So we shall see together. Day 5 of the Summerween Readathon. I did not get a chance to update you yesterday, and I'm sorry that these updates have been few and far between. It happens to be just a really busy week. I'll say this, I have always had great respect and admiration for people that vlog, and especially for anyone that does daily vlogs during a readathon, because the thought of not only reading, but filming and editing every day is just so impressive to me, and I don't even see how it's possible. Just trying to update every day, let alone read every day, And if I had tried to edit at the same time, there's no way. So I haven't even started editing this, and I don't know how long it's going to take me to get this up. I'm hoping I can do it shortly after the readathon ends, and I hope it isn't a giant disappointment because the entire thing is like B-roll, but it is what it is. But I have an update. I ended up having a very quiet day at work. There was actually some IT stuff going on that sort of prevented me from doing a lot of work. And so because of that, I ended up reading the entirety of A House with Good Bones. I just sat there and read the whole thing. It was a good time, honestly. It almost felt like a cozy horror, and I don't think that's a thing. I've heard of cozy fantasy and cozy mysteries, but this felt very cozy horror. There were definitely some horrific moments, but a lot of it was kind of beautiful, and I don't know if that's because of T. Kingfisher's writing or the descriptive nature or the way the horror was manifesting, but it was kind of beautiful at times and lyrical. I had a good time with it. I think I'm going to give it 4 stars because it was really beautifully written. That is book 3 done. And then this morning, while I was drinking my coffee, I ended up reading Killing Stalking, Volume 1. This comes from the recommendation of Katie Colson, who speaks volumes of this. She said it's so weird and so creepy and so odd and so like messed up and dark. And she was absolutely right. It was a really good time. I loved the art style. Siren. So this is book 4 down. I don't know how to rate it. I've never read anything like this. I'm not a big manga graphic novel person. I don't read a lot of them, so I don't know how to rate it because the art was great. The story was super messed up, but I don't think it's my thing. At least not yet. Maybe I need to do a little more dabbling into the graphic novel, manga situation. But it was definitely a good way to dip my toe into this medium for sure. So, I mean, I think since it's not really my thing, but it was, I can recognize that it was well done and that other people who this is their thing would love this. I think I'm going to give it like a 3.5. I am now officially like 1 day behind reading 7 and 7 because today is day 5. So if I can finish something else tonight, I will be all caught up. And that is my hope. I have to go to work. I'm going to get home late, but I'm going to try and read something tonight. I probably will attempt to finish the short story collection, The Trees Grew Because I Bled There, by Eric LaRocca. I think I have 3 or 4 stories left in that, and I'm reading it in the dark, so I will probably try and complete that tonight. Tomorrow, I have the day off. I have a ton of chores to do and grocery shopping and meal prepping and all the things, so I probably will listen to the audiobook of The Troop, which I started yesterday a little bit. I only got a few chapters in, probably 10% in, but I will probably put that on tomorrow while I do all the cleaning. But I'm going to go to work right now, and I will update you when I've read something else. Okay, guys, it is day 6 of Summerween. It is about 4:45, and I have literally been cleaning all day. I am a sweaty, disgusting mess. Do not look at me. Do not look at my hair. But I do have an update because while I did the obsessive cleaning, I actually managed to finish The Troop on audiobook. I pretty much read this cover to cover on audio today. I think I was only a few chapters in the audiobook. I think I might have been like 10% into the audiobook the other day. But today, I'm not kidding, I've been listening to this for like 6 hours straight. It was great. It was a great time. This is, I will say, probably the goriest, most graphically disgusting book that I've ever read in the horror genre. And I don't know if that just means this is an extremely horrific book, or if I've just not read enough horror, which is very possible because I'm still just scratching the surface of the horror genre at this point. It was disgusting. I mean, literally almost every other sentence was so graphic, and there was body horror and just gory descriptions that were just so unsettling. Like, I can't imagine listening to this while you're eating. It's like, ugh. I just can't do it. That being said, I freaking loved it. It was a really good time. It was definitely worth the hype that I've been hearing for years. I have had this on my TBR for every Summerween for literally 4 years. And so I'm so happy that I finally took the time to actually read this and complete it. And I understand why it's so many people's recommendation for a really strong horror book. If I haven't said, which I'm sure I haven't because I've been horrible at updating this week, this book is about a Canadian scout troop. So it's like Boy Scouts, kind of, Canada's version. And they are on a weekend camping trip in the wilderness. And while they're at the campsite, this emaciated man stumbles upon them. He is pale and literally looks so gaunt and so sick that they're like, oh my God, this guy needs help. He literally looks like he's about to die. And their scoutmaster happens to be a doctor or a nurse or something. So he tries to help him, but very quickly learns that whatever this man is infected with, it can spread. And it does. You had a lot of different perspectives. You basically got to know and see through every single boy's eyes during the whole trip. And they all have very unique personalities, so it was very well written in that way, where you didn't feel like they were all the same kid and you were just trying to figure out who's talking now. Especially when you're reading it on audio, like, that could have easily been confusing, and it wasn't. So I think this was excellently written. I am going to say 4.5 stars. I can't give it a full 5 because it's not like I had a great time with the grossness, but I had a good time. And I recognize that this is an excellent horror book, for sure. I am finally going to finish cleaning. I'm going to jump in the shower. And I think what I'd like to do tonight is treat myself to a little fall treat. I happened to see this video on Instagram of someone making a s'more with a croissant. And unfortunately, my grocery store was out of croissants. However, I did get snickerdoodles, which feels very fall to me. And so I'm going to try and make a s'more on a snickerdoodle. This could go horribly wrong. I've never done this before, living in New York City without a proper bonfire. But we're going to give it a shot and see what we can do. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a shower, I'm going to make a s'more, I'm going to probably make an espresso martini as well, and then I'm just going to sit and read my 7th book for the readathon, which is Dead 11. I did start this a few days ago, and I've read a couple chapters here and there, so I didn't get very far. I am currently on page 134, and I'm loving this. I am absolutely loving this, and I feel like I haven't had enough time to devote to it because I've been on the move for the past few days, so I haven't been able to sit down for a good period of time and get through a chunk of this. This is about a place called Clifford Island, which is this remote island where this small town community lives. There's not much known about the island or its inhabitants or their way of life. But basically, in the beginning of the story, we meet Willow. She has a son. She finds the words Clifford Island on the floor of her son's bedroom and decides to go to this island to try and find out what happened to her son. It also follows her brother, who is actually looking for Willow because now she's gone missing. There's several different perspectives in here. There's a perspective from a teenage girl who lives on the island and has lived there all her life. There's perspectives from other random people in the town. The first chapter seriously hooked me with how weird it was. So there's these two old ladies that live in the town. They live across the street from each other, and every single day at the same exact time, they come out of their houses in the same clothes. They wave at each other, get their mail, and go inside. One day, one of the women goes outside and sees the other one not there. So she goes across the street to figure out where her friend is, and she discovers that her friend has passed away. And so instead of just calling the authorities, she drags her dead body out to the mailbox, strings her up, attaches her to the mailbox with her hand raised in a wave. And then she goes across the street to complete their task that they do every day, and then goes inside. And so some other person driving by happens to stumble upon this woman's body just strapped to a mailbox. It was so weird and so gross and so funny and so odd and so everything that I was like, I'm hooked. I'm in. I am going to try and get a little further into this. This is my 7th book for the week, so if I can finish this tomorrow, I will officially have done 7 and 7, which was my goal. And I didn't think it was going to happen for a minute there, but we're back on track, hopefully. I'm going to go take a shower, make a s'more, make an espresso martini, and do some more reading. And I will probably check in with you tomorrow for the final day of Summerween. It is officially the end of Summerween 2023, and somehow I managed to read 7 books in 7 days. It was touch and go for a while, and I don't know how it happened. The final book I finished today was Dead 11. I don't know if I pitched this well enough earlier because I was sort of still figuring everything out. Without giving any spoilers, this woman is looking for answers about what happened to her son. She finds the words Clifford Island written on the floor of his bedroom, and so she travels there to try and uncover what happened to him. And in the meantime, we're also following her brother, who several months later is traveling to Clifford Island to find her because now she's gone missing. And the residents of this island are weird. They are obsessed with the 90s. They dress in the 90s. They watch the O.J. Simpson chase every night. They only listen to old music. They will not listen to anything modern whatsoever. They watch VHS tapes. They're all afraid of something that's out there in the woods at night, and so they shut their blinds every single night at dark. Nobody can leave. It's a very, very odd town. It's so weird. It's so unhinged. My only issue with this was the pacing. It did feel like it lagged at times, and other times it got super exciting. It's not like there were twists and turns, per se, because a lot of it you kind of could figure out what was going on for the most part, but there were parts that were really exciting and really interesting. They had some mixed media where you got to listen to interviews and read articles, and the audiobook was excellent. The narrators did such a good job with different voices, and you could hear the recording starting on tapes. It was really, really good. But then there were other times where I was like, okay, get to the point, let's move on. I just think it's a little bit too long. But overall, I absolutely love this, and I think I'm giving it 4 stars. And that is my 7th and final book done for the Readathon. So let's review. This Readathon, there were 5 prompts. I completed all 5 of them, and I read 7 books. I read The Only One Left by Riley Sager, which counts as a thriller. I read Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which counts as something that takes place in the fall. I read A House with Good Bones, which counts as a short story, novella, or graphic novel. I read Killing Stalking, which also counts as a short story, novella, graphic novel, manga. I read The Trees Grew Because I Bled Here, which counts as the book I read in the dark because I read it at night with the lights off with my Kindle. Then I read The Troop, which counts for reading a book with orange or black on the cover. And finally, I read Dead 11, which was just for fun. That is everything that I read. It came out to 7 books, 2,440 pages, and my favorite had to have been the Riley Sager, The Only One Left. That has to be my favorite of the Readathon. I think it was my only 5-star. I had a great time with Summerween this year. I always do, but this year especially because it was my first time trying to vlog during it, and some lessons were learned that it is much harder than it looks, which I already knew instinctually, but I had a great time. Thank you to Gabby from Gabby Reads and Olivia from Olivia Reads a Latte for coming up with this readathon and hosting it every year. I already can't wait for the next year, and I can't believe how big it's gotten, and I'm having so much fun watching everyone's vlogs and TBRs. If you participated, please let me know if there was anything that you read that you absolutely loved. And I am going to go read something that has nothing to do with the thriller horror genre because I need a break. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!